What is the scariest, most terrifying thing that actually exists? Alzheimer's. Your memory, personality and everything that makes you slowly slips away. Prions. They're basically screwed up proteins that make other proteins get screwed up the same way, like some sort of molecular zombie. Once you have a prion disease, it will slowly destroy your brain by messing up proteins that are vital for life. Once you have it, there's no cure and no treatment. You're just done for. And it can incubate for years. You can have it right now and not know. And as a fun little bonus, disinfectants and other methods of killing viruses, parasites and bacteria will do nothing for a prion. Fatal familial insomnia is possibly the freakiest prion disease. You just can't sleep. You get progressively worse insomnia until you can't sleep at all anymore, which causes delirium, hallucinations, and eventually death. Imagine just knowing your mind is slowly slipping away, all because your body won't sleep. That is a prion disease. This plant, TL, Dr. Horses that touch it run off cliffs to stop the pain. The fact that you can be paralyzed and unable to move any part of the body while your mind remains completely intact. Bolton Street. A tiny stream in Yorkshire that's basically a river on its side. Only a meter or two across, and looks like a calm stream, but if you fall in it sucks you under and pulverizes you against the rocks. 100% mortality rate for people who try to jump it and fall in. Edit, quite a few people are having trouble visualizing what I meant by a river on its side. /u/max3040 posted this below. It explains it quite well. Whatever it is, it lives in the ocean. Deep in the ocean. Anesthesia awareness. You go into the hospital for surgery and you are paralyzed and awake during the entire procedure. Unable to scream, move, or indicate in any way that you are locked in. ALS. At least with Alzheimer's, the patient usually doesn't really know what's going on. With ALS, the patient has minimal mental impairment and is trapped in a non-functioning body. My cousin's wife suffered from and passed due to ALS. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. People that kill without a conscience or reason. You could be in the wrong place at the wrong time or even just asleep in your home. And someone could pick you for no reason at all other than opportunity. Brain-eating amoebas. Certainly terrifying. I was swimming in a pretty nasty, stagnant pool/pond of water that was an offshoot of the Colorado River. My friends and I were there for a week, squishing through the mossy ground and stirring up all the nasty stuff in there. It wasn't until a week after we left that we found out a girl died there just days after our trip from a brain-eating amoeba. In retrospect, that water was disgusting and shouldn't have been swam in at all. But beer plus girls means you'll do something dumb to impress them. The supervolcano in Yellowstone, Wyoming that if it explodes, would make 1/3 of North America instantly uninhabitable and we would have to evacuate the rest. It would also create a volcanic winter for the whole planet for a couple of years. /u/hotdoggin's answer to this question haunts me. Rabies. Edit, I want to repeat that the following is a quote from a thread in the past. I did not write it. Furthermore, I'd like to show you a video in the comments after you read this comment. Link to comment. Edit 2, camping is an amazing experience. Don't let fear stop you from new adventures. Just take the proper precautions and do your research. Ask Hot Duggan as they are now active if you have any questions. If you are concerned that you have these symptoms or have come in contact with animals prone to rabies, please schedule an appointment with your doctor as soon as possible. Don't sweat it until then. Read the attached comment. Edit, massive PSA. Hot Duggan has just commented. If you are checking in, having already read this comment, please read this comment above. Thank you. And I'm bolding and formatting this because many of you are panicking and I really don't have any answers. Hot Dogan's original comment starts here. Rabies. It's exceptionally common, but people just don't run into the animals that carry it often. Skunks especially, and bats. Let me paint you a picture. You go camping, and at midday you decide to take a nap in a nice little hammock. While sleeping, a tiny brown bat, in the rage stages of infection, is fidgeting in broad daylight, uncomfortable, and thirsty, due to the hydrophobia, and you snort, startling him. He goes into attack mode. Except you're asleep, and he's a little brown bat, so weighs around 6 grams. You don't even feel him land on your bare knee, and he starts to bite. His teeth are tiny, hardly enough to even break the skin, but he does manage to give you the equivalent of a tiny scrape that goes completely unnoticed. Rabies does not travel in your blood. In fact, a blood test won't even tell you if you've got it. Antibody tests may be done, but are useless if you've ever been vaccinated. You wake up, none the wiser. If you notice anything at the bite site at all, you assume you just lightly scraped it on something. The bomb has been lit, and your nervous system is the wick. The rabies will multiply along your nervous system, doing virtually no damage, and completely undetectable. You literally have no symptoms. It may be 4 days, it may be a year, but the camping trip is most likely long forgotten. Then one day your back starts to ache, or maybe you get a slight headache. At this point, you're already dead. There is no cure. The sole caveat to this is the Milwaukee Protocol, which leaves most patients dead anyway, and the survivors mentally disabled, and is seldom done. There's no treatment. It has a 100% kill rate. Absorb that. Not a single other virus on the planet has a 100% kill rate. Only rabies. And once you're symptomatic, it's over. You're dead. So what does that look like? Your headache turns into a fever, and a general feeling of being unwell. You're fidgety, uncomfortable, and scared. As the virus that has taken its time getting into your brain finds a vast network of nerve endings, it begins to rapidly reproduce, starting at the base of your brain, where your pons is located. This is the part of the brain that controls communication between the rest of the brain and body, as well as sleep cycles. Next, you become anxious. You still think you have only a mild fever, but suddenly you find yourself becoming scared, even horrified, and it doesn't occur to you that you don't know why. This is because the rabies is chewing up your amygdala. As your cerebellum becomes hot with the virus, you begin to lose muscle coordination and balance. You think maybe it's a good idea to go to the doctor now, but assuming a doctor is smart enough to even run the tests necessary in the few days you have left on the planet, odds are they'll only be able to tell your loved ones what you died of later. You're twitchy, shaking, and scared. You have the normal fear of not knowing what's going on. But with the virus really fricking the amygdala, this is amplified 100-fold. It's around this time the hydrophobia starts. You're horribly thirsty, you just want water, but you can't drink. Every time you do, your throat clamps shut and you vomit. This has become a legitimate, active fear of water. You're thirsty, but looking at a glass of water begins to make you gag, and shy back in fear. The contradiction is hard for your hot brain to see at this point. By now, the doctors will have to put you on IVs to keep you hydrated, but even that's futile. You were dead the second you had a headache. You begin hearing things, or not hearing at all as your thalamus goes. You taste sounds, you see smells, everything starts feeling like the most horrifying acid trip anyone has ever been on. With your hippocampus long under attack, you're having trouble remembering things, especially family. You're alone, hallucinating, thirsty, confused, and absolutely, undeniably terrified. Everything scares the literal shit out of you at this point. These strange people in lab coats, these strange people standing around your bed crying, who keep trying to get you drink something and crying. And it's only been about a week since that little headache that you've completely forgotten. Time means nothing to you anymore. Funny enough, you now know how the bat felt when he bit you. Eventually, you slip into the dumb rabies phase. Your brain has started the process of shutting down. Too much of it has been turned to liquid virus. Your face droops. You drool. You're all but unaware of what's around you. A sudden noise or light might startle you, but for the most part, it's all you can do to just stare at the ground. You haven't really slept for about 72 hours. Then you die. Always, you die. And there's not one freaking thing anyone can do for you. Then there's the question of what to do with your corpse. I mean, sure, burying it is the right thing to do, but the freaking virus can survive in a corpse for years. You could kill every rabid animal on the planet today, and if 2 years from now, some moist, preserved, rotten hunk of used to be brain gets eaten by an animal, it starts all over. So yeah, rabies scares the shit out of me, and it's freaking everywhere. Source: spent a lot of time working with rabies, would still get my vaccinations if I could afford them. This is where Hot Duggan's original post ends and Big Schwartz's begins. Again/u/Hogduggan has just commented. Here it is as it is buried with the rest of the 500 comments below. Seriously, this blew up my phone bad. With dozens of identical comments. Something something Australia. Something something The Office. I'm happy Hogduggan saw this and I'm more than happy to give credit where credit is due. Please reply to their comment, as linked above, if you have any questions or concerns. They obviously the expert here. Reddit did not allow me to include it in this post because it is too long, which stinks. Because I formatted the whole thing and it is super freaking important. Why didn't you get any work done today after your break? I was busy freaking about rabies. Who has rabies? I don't know. No one? Everyone? Cordyceps lethal mind control fungus. It only infects ants, as far as we know, but it's straight out of a horror movie. Infected ants compulsively climb as high as they can and then clamp their jaws down. Then a stalk grows out the top of their head and releases spores that infect more ants. The Last of Us infection is based on it. Correction, it affects lots of types of insects. I only remembered the ants initially. Large rocks minding their own business in space that might run into our planet and end everything someday. I would say cancer, or the fact that anyone at any point could just drop dead from a brain aneurysm. Brain aneurysms are nuts. My mom got in a tiny fender bender a few years ago. The police weren't even called because the fault was mutual and the damages weren't serious. My mom called to check on the lady a few days later. Her husband answered and told my mom that she died the day after from a brain aneurysm. I can't remember whether the aneurysm was caused by the accident or if it was already there and the accident caused it to rupture. Either way, terrifying shit. Hippopotamus. They can weigh about 2 tons and achieve speeds of 20 miles per hour on land. Their bite can easily kill and they are extremely territorial. More deaths occur per year by hippos than lions, wolves, elephants, and sharks combined. The hungry ones are the worst. Carbon monoxide. Sudden random ballistic missile alerts at 8:07 on a Saturday morning while you're tidying the kitchen. My mom has dementia. Prior to the onset, I probably would have answered this question with any number of hundreds of cliched answers, but the correct answer is dementia. The fact that our entire planet, all of human history, the billions of years of life as we know it could be randomly blown out of existence by a rock flying aimlessly through space. And there's nothing we could do about it. We just train a drilling team to be astronauts. Space scares the shit out of me, and how much we don't know about the ocean, like anything could be down there. The FBI estimates there are anywhere between 25 to 50 active serial killers in the US at this very moment. It could be your co-worker, your friend, your neighbor, your server, or that friendly older gentleman living by himself. You'll probably never know unless you fall under their victim type. Worse than serial killers, the ones who have young women imprisoned in soundproof dungeons. Those women in Cleveland. Years. Haunting. Rabies. Don't Google videos of people with. I won't. Honey, sit down. We need to talk. Nothing good comes after that. Nothing. Ranch dressing soda. Drifting away from a space station with no way to get back. Nuclear bombs. Sleep paralysis is definitely up there. You can't move, but there's something in your room lurking about and your heart is racing and you can't process what's going on. Your basement when you turn off all the lights and have to run up the stairs. I still sprint up the stairs when I go to my parents and am the last one up from the basement. The fact that I am allowed to structurally weld bridges which hold thousands of cars a day. I'm looking at you, Dayton. Granted, none of my welds have failed a test and I put forth my best effort every time. But still, if one decides to fail, yay, that's a scary concept. The trust in others that everyone has every day when they drive. While driving from point A to B, every car you pass, or that pass you, could easily kill you with a wrong turn of the wheel or loss of control. Especially when it's something the driver can't help, like a seizure.